Hey, welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm your host, Sal Interdonato. The Black Knight Nation podcast is brought to you always by Higher Echelon. We appreciate Higher Echelon sponsoring this podcast. We are 2 subscribers away from 1,000 on YouTube. So if you're watching for the first time and you like what we're talking about with the Army football program, give us a like, subscribe, or what you do on YouTube. And guys, people that are already watching us, we really appreciate you hopping on. We have Seth Mendelson here from Black Knight Nation. We have Cuthbert from SSN Army to talk about Army's 14-3 win over North Texas, a game that really, a score that probably wasn't expected. The over-under in this game was 67.5. That's a bad beat. That's a really bad beat if you took the over. Holy cow, you weren't even close. But we have so much to talk about. Bryson Daily's return, the defense stepping up, the fake field goal at the end of the first half. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Just some first impressions here. Seth, why don't you take it away? I'm going to do some social media stuff. Why don't you take it away and give us your impression of the game?
Well, first, I want to welcome Cuthbert to our little group here. Thanks for joining us. You know what? I expected, like you, I expected a shootout. I expected a game that's going to be, both teams in the high 20s, 30s, 40s. Who knows what was going on? My son said to me just the opposite. He goes, they're not going to, these guys are not going to give the ball up too much. They're going to have long drives. Little did we know that Army would have possession for 41 minutes. Listen, I think, as I just wrote and we'll put online, I think this was all about 2 things. One, that Bryson Daily came back, looked great, played really good, 153 rushing yards, a couple of passes, a couple of key plays by Noah Short, by a couple of receivers. Help me with who was
Casey Reynolds.
Casey Reynolds made the catch for a first down. And most importantly, the defense. The defense for the second game in a row gave up 3 points, and only 3 points. And unlike Air Force, which was not a dominating offensive team, the Mean Green of North Texas have been averaging 41 points a game. And it's just amazing to me that our defense gave up a total of 3 points. I know what happened. They got to the red zone 3 times.
4 times.
4 times. Oh, yeah, they had the field goal. Right, the 4 times, and 3 times they came away with nothing. 2 interceptions and a goal line stand. But to me, that was incredible, and I did not expect that. I didn't expect it this morning, and I certainly didn't expect it back in August when we were talking about how good Army's defense would be.
Cuthbert, why don't you give us your initial thoughts?
This was obviously the hardest game of the season thus far. I think that this is a great win. I think Army should be proud of the performance they put on. I was honestly expecting this to look more like the 2017 Armed Forces Bowl, where you had Ahmad Bradshaw just absolutely, pounding the rock, and Army controlling the game and controlling the pace. And then all of a sudden, they don't have whether it's DT Sheffield or Morris, but North Texas taking the sort of Rashad Penny style of and we're going to score in 3 plays. And it's going to come down to the wire, even though Army's got almost 45 minutes of time of possession. Now, we did end up with about 41 minutes, but in the first half, North Texas they were using that Army style of, we are going to do everything we can to control the clock. And by and large, it was working. I will say, I think this is the absolute best, with exception maybe to last week against Air Force, of the bend don't break defense, which is, we don't have the speed, the size, or necessarily the power to be putting up I don't want to say a full front, but the defense in particular, the defensive backs, they're going to have to play a little bit looser, a little bit softer, just to accommodate for those, potential shortfalls. But then you get to the red zone, all of a sudden we're in a phone booth, and it doesn't matter that your receivers are, man to man faster than our D-backs. And what are we doing? We're getting interceptions, and we're having goal line stands. I think this was absolutely a game that was won by the defense. I think we probably could have and should have scored more than we did, given the mistakes that we had. We all of a sudden we had some turnovers. This is the second week in a row. The penalty bug is biting our offense. But all in all, I'm actually very, very pleased. Very pleased.
Yeah, I was thinking about, the first half where, the goal line stand, calls that could have went against Army that didn't go, pass interference penalty that was a little bit iffy. I thought Bryson Daily certainly fumbled the football on that one play. They called it incomplete pass. I'm like, that's a break for Army. The North Texas sideline was going wild. The defensive coordinator, and you look at the penalties that Army had, the holding penalties that they had. I think they had at least 2 in the first half that I can remember, and another one in the second half. But you look at North Texas certainly was doing their share of holding too, so it all balances out. But man, the defense, Nate Woody, Brendan, you could chime in on this, right? We talked about Cody Worley. Brendan's here. Brendan Jersey's here on the podcast. Thanks for coming on, Brendan. We talked about Cody Worley getting being a candidate for the Broyles Award. And man, Nate Woody, put him right in there. Put him right in there because this defense was only going to return 3 starters. I think that something happened in preseason that actually helped this defense out a lot when Steven Nadozie got hurt and they moved Casey Larkin from that Apache to the safety spot. I think that was a big deal for the defense. Him and Max have worked really well. And man, who holds North Texas to 3 points? Army does. Brendan, you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I mean, gosh. So when did Nate Woody take over? I guess it was 2020, right?
Yeah, this is
because yeah, and I mean, I would say he's done a great job every year that he's been here. But this is just on another level. I mean, the number 1 scoring defense in the nation through 12 weeks or whatever we are at this point. And I think like fairly high up in terms of yards allowed too, like maybe in the top 10.
They were fifth, I think, during this game. Yeah.
Like, I don't care who you're playing against. I mean, or like your level of competition. If you can push back on people like that with your defensive unit, that like you're doing some great work. And I mean, I just replied on Twitter with this, but Sal, you and I were talking about Worley as a Broyles Award candidate. Woody might have an even better case now at this point for best coordinator in the country.
Imagine like you start the game averaging 11.2 points or whatever it was on defense, and you're actually going down. You're going to lower that average with a second week in a row. They've allowed 3 points. It's crazy. They picked off 2 more passes, right? 2 in the end zone, 2 end zone interceptions. I can't remember the last time, if ever, I've seen that happen before. Army have 2 interceptions in the end zone in the game. But I mean, and then you look at so the points per game are going to go down, and just I don't know. Seth, you talked about it. 41 points a game. That's the first time that North Texas hasn't scored a touchdown this season in a game. You probably would have to go back a couple of years when the last time they've ever not scored a touchdown in a game. Now, they might have bumped into a Power 5 team in a game. I have to look it up, but it's incredible. I had that at halftime. Did I think that Army was going to stop them from scoring a touchdown in the second half? I didn't. But I tell you what, they made Chandler Morris look human. Chandler Morris didn't look like he was leading the nation in passing yards today. I mean, he was 23 for 37. If he had his spots, yeah, but they didn't get beat. Cuthbert, they didn't get beat downfield, right? This team, and Casey Larkin talked about that in the press. Not Casey Larkin, Max DiDomenico, talked about that in the press conference. They didn't want to get beat deep, and you talked about that with their coverages. They want to get deep. They didn't give up really a big play today, and they didn't give up a touchdown.
I was actually really genuinely surprised by that. I was expecting, given the type of defenses that Nate Woody usually calls, I was expecting them to really just be trying to target Sheffield, especially in like underneath crossing routes, and then just let his speed go to work. I mean, he wasn't completely shut out of the game. I mean, he definitely got in there and was impactful. But I was particularly impressed. I noticed it more on the first drive, and it was probably just because that was the first drive of the game. So I was, paying the most attention. But it seemed like between the defensive line and the linebackers, they were running stunts and blitzes that I feel like I haven't seen all year, and that I think were by and large pretty effective. And I was really, really happy to see that, because it meant that Morris couldn't hurt us with his legs, which he was absolutely capable of doing. And I think it kept him off balance. And all of a sudden, you're getting passes thrown at somebody's feet, or you know what I mean? It's getting bobbled because it's not getting delivered exactly on time. So I cannot speak highly enough of what Woody and the defense did today.
Yeah, I would say the first drive, I think it was the first drive, they had a couple fourth down conversions, and you're like, man, this defense really needs to get off the field. I think at one point, North Texas ran like 29 plays to Army's like 10 or 9 or something like that. And you're like, okay, this is going to be a little bit of a long day for the defense. But no, they didn't break. And you're right with the pressures. I mean, I think they sacked them one. Did Kyle Lewis have the only sack? I don't know if they sacked them more than once. But
one sack.
Yeah, Elo Mendoza is causing a lot of pressure. He's not getting to the sack. He's getting held on almost every other play, and he's making quarterbacks throw the ball early. And you're not going to find that in a box score. You're not going to find that in a box score. And you're not going to find Cody Harris Miller's play up the middle in a box score, And then you have the linebackers like I think Max was saying today. Fortner and Thomas were all over the place today. They were everywhere today. And that certainly is a factor in the way they played. And I don't know, maybe it's me and my AAC bias, but Chandler Morris, no bueno. I mean, he didn't look like he was, he threw 26 touchdown passes and had 8 interceptions before this game. And he walks away with 0 touchdown passes and 2 picks. And 2 really key picks were Seth, the press conference with Justin Weaver and Donovan Platt. They were asked, like, what were they doing, right? And they were disguising their coverages, and they were fooling Chandler Morris. And this is a guy who's not like in his first, second year FBS football player. This is a pretty experienced quarterback who's had he had 4 400-yard games this year or something like that. And
400, yeah.
Yeah,
I thought the defense was playing a couple of yards back. The linebackers in the secondary were playing a few yards back, and I think that messed him up a little bit. He couldn't go over. He wasn't even trying to go over the Army defense too much, and I thought he was off. I mean, why he was off? Maybe it was the Army, the rush, the defensive rush. I don't know, but I thought I saw the defense playing a few yards further back than they normally do.
He missed that deep pass that announcer said, well, if he makes the pass, it's a touchdown, but it wasn't a good thrown ball. The guy was double covered. It had to be perfect. But I mean, I think they threw Cuthbert. Did they throw deep one? Like, was that their only time they really threw deep that in the game? I don't know. I don't remember another.
It felt like it to me. That was it. I don't think Morris had the time. I mean, I don't know how many designed deep balls they had, but it didn't look like Morris had the time to even be considering them. And, like you all were saying, everything Army did was to avoid getting beat on the deep ball. And so I think that forced him to have to go to some underneath routes. And then, bend, don't break. We find ourselves in the red zone. And all of a sudden, doesn't matter how much faster your guys are than our guys. I mean, on that second interception, I don't know who the receiver was, but if he goes to the man that's in the flat, as opposed to who's going for the fade,
Sure.
That's a touchdown. I mean, he is wide open, and that's a shorter pass, an easier pass. So I don't know if that play was designed to be the fade, and so you don't even look anywhere else, or what. I'm genuinely impressed with Army's defense, and I think they rattled the North Texas offense. I mean, I put it on Twitter when I was watching the game. That first drive, okay, great. They get the field goal. They break the streak of however many minutes it's been that we haven't trailed. All good things must come to an end. They needed 2 fourth down conversions to get it. Now, they got those fourth down conversions comfortably. But I tweeted out and said, look, if they're going to have to rely on 2 fourth down conversions every drive, that ain't going to work. That's a not for long strategy. And lo and behold, their second drive comes around. They find themselves in a fourth down. They have to go for it. They get it. They come to a second fourth down. They try to go for it. They don't get it because you're not going to get those all day. And lo and behold, and I got to think that was getting to the North Texas players. And they themselves were realizing we have limited opportunities here. And I don't know if they're second guessing or what, but it was a great strategy. Whatever happened, the boys, they played lights out.
Yeah, it certainly worked. And, going into this game, I thought if Bryson Daily didn't play, it was going to be maybe like I said, like a 31-28 game. I thought there'd be a couple touchdowns, more than a couple touchdowns scored in this game. Bryson Daily gets a chance to play. And, man, it looked like he didn't miss a beat. He looked like he didn't miss a beat. He wasn't avoiding any contact for sure. He was initiating contact as usual. He was being physical. Like, he rushed 36 times today. And when he was told that he rushed 36 times today in the press conference, he was stunned. He didn't think he had the ball that many times. He said his body might be a little bit beat up tomorrow, but they got the W. Seth, I don't know how many. I'm guessing they ran about between 50 and 60 times today, I'm guessing. And he had about 36 of those carries.
It's incredible. It's incredible. And plus, it's incredible. He gets hit hard and he bounces right back up. The announcers on TV said it at one point. He took a hard hit up the middle there, around the ball, and like it was nothing. He just gets up like he's a fullback. And
he smiles. He smiles when he gets hit.
He's having a great time today. He's having a great time.
He was in Texas, and there was a guy who was originally committed to Army for like a day or a minute, and that was playing on the defensive line of North Texas, and he was talking trash to Bryson Daly a lot during the game, and the Army and Bryson had the last laugh, certainly. I mean, it's just, man, you realize how valuable he is to this team, right? And what I've said it before, and we've said it before, he is one of the most valuable players in college football this season. He just is. What he means, they beat Air Force, a not so good Air Force team without him, and Dwayne Coleman did do a good job of managing the team. But for games like this, he's a perfect guy for it because he's not going to back down. He's going to play, to the end of the whistle. The first contact's not good enough. Second contact might not be good enough. He's still going to keep going. And, man, it really worked out. And like Seth, you said, a couple offense real quick, talk about it. They had some pretty good conversions today. That Noah Short play, that was so close, like right at the stick. Right at the stick. I think they looked at both that and Casey Reynolds on replay just to make sure they did get the first down on those key plays. And when they need it, he completed 2 passes today. I didn't think he was going to complete a pass all day. I thought this was going to be another Army win without a completed pass, to be honest with you. But he did get one to Noah Short for a third down conversion, and he got one to Casey Reynolds. Was that fourth down or third down? I forgot.
Reynolds was third down. Was third down.
Yeah, but 2 big third down conversions. There was a weird stat with North Texas in the first half where they were 2 for 8 on third down, and 3 for 5 on fourth down. I don't know. It was just like it was just a bizarre, like a little bit of a bizarre game. Played like Coach Monken says in the phone booth, right? And man, they come away with a victory, of course. What you got to add, Seth?
No, I was going to say that, what I found so interesting was North Texas scores their field goal. They went down the field pretty easily. Okay, they had a couple of fourth down conversions. And then I was shocked that they tried an onside kick.
Good point.
And I thought the reason they did it is because, like everybody else this year has been saying to us and to anybody who wants to listen, is that they know they're not going to get that many possessions. So they went for it right away, and Army recovered. It wasn't a great kick. Army recovered on the, help me here, 45-yard line.
I don't know where, but let's give Hamilton Baker really good credit for that. A fifth-year senior guy who really hasn't, seen that he sees the field and situational stuff here and there, but he's on the special teams, and that's a big play in there. If he doesn't it's not like it bounced off of him. It wasn't like the best onside kick, but what if North Texas gets that? Then they get, the momentum.
But then we had the short field. Army went down 45 yards or so, whatever it was, and of course, Daly scored on a 10-yard, a 10. I think it was a draw, right? I think it might have been a draw.
No, it was a counter play. Lucas Scott leading the way.
Yeah,
he didn't get touched. He didn't get touched.
But the bottom line is, you kick that ball away. Army's got the ball on the 20 or 25 or 30-yard line, and they got to go to the field. I was pretty surprised by that. I really was. I was surprised by that as I was by the fake field goal, which I don't understand.
But yeah, okay. We'll go into that in a second. Here's Jay Sneed saying go Army, and Joe Peppers from a while back. Absolutely, our defense is the real deal. They play with reckless abandon. That's a good way to describe it. Guys, if you're watching right now and have any kind of comments for us, please send them our way. The onside kick is something that I just, I had to go on both of our X accounts and comment on it. That's how bad it was. I mean, I don't understand it. They said the explanation from Coach Monken, I should have put the clip on X. I apologize. He basically said when they kicked the extra point after the first touchdown, they got a look that they thought would work for a fake field goal down the road. So they line up for a field goal. The look is not what they're getting, but the holder, I guess, is supposed to check out of it if he doesn't see the look. He didn't check out of it, but Coach Monken's got to call a timeout there. He said that he should have called a timeout. He had one timeout left in his pocket. Why they let that play run the way they did, I have no idea. But I guess when the ball is snapped, you think Trey Granati's going to kick it. You don't think that the holder, Matt Rhodes, is going to take off and run with it. But why you call that play there? You take the points into the locker room. You go up 10-0, and you got the ball coming back in the second half. Why did they do it? Why was the play called in the – what's the play called? I think he said he called the play, Seth. I think he said he called the play.
He called the play. He said exactly what you just said. He said that he saw something on the extra point, and they figure they're going to line up the same way, and they'll try it. As the announcer on TV said, if that works, if you have 15 seconds left or 20 seconds left, you got to bounce, you have a timeout. But maybe you get a first down, or it's not fourth down. But it's all or nothing, and that was pretty dangerous. Fortunately, it worked out. He did afterwards. He talked to the sideline reporter after the first half, and he said, "Hey, it's on me, and I just hope they bail me out." He did say that.
Well, they bailed them out. Yeah, the defense bailed them out. Yeah, because I mean, if this game comes down to a field goal down the road, and if North Texas was to convert on one of those red zone possessions that they had, that would be something that would have came back to haunt Army. You just had a feeling that when I'm going through the game and even into the second half, I'm like, the defense has to make a play, not just like a turnover. They have to have a takeaway, and they got it. So they got two of them. That was we're doing a lot of this special team stuff, and at the beginning of the year, it was working pretty well. Rhodes had the touchdown against Florida Atlantic on the keep, and it was the same play the other way. It looked like. Maybe not, because I don't know if Trey Granati was running the pitch guy. I don't know. We'll see. Any thoughts, Cuthbert, on that one?
Well, I was just going to say what was really interesting, Seth. You brought up that if you've got 15 seconds left, that's the play you do, because then you can get out of bounds. You've got a timeout, et cetera, et cetera. But the play before that ended up being the pass interference that ended up stopping the clock. Something had happened in the transition, and Daly, I mean, from the looks of it, at least, I don't know, it looked like Daly thought the clock had stopped, and it didn't. So we're at like 15, 14, 13, the clock's counting down, and Daly's just sitting there under center, and it's like, are we going to do something here? What are we doing? And then he throws the pass, and it ends up being the PI, and that stops the clock, and we have the opportunity. I remember thinking to myself, okay, good. At the very least, we're going to get 3. We got the ball back after halftime, and I wasn't even that upset that they tried it. I mean, it wasn't a kill shot the way it was against Florida Atlantic when it's late in the game and that this is going to close the door. But that was just a really crazy game. It had a very sort of strange energy about it, where both teams really got the urgency of we have to try and get as many points, as many touchdowns as possible, because we don't really know how this is going to go. And then you go to the second half, and now all of a sudden we're having turnovers out of nowhere, and we're getting red zone interceptions. And you know what I mean? If you look at the stats, I never would have guessed it would have been a 14-3 game.
You know, the play actually, the pass interference was the play before. There was actually an injury because the pass interference was an incomplete pass and stops the clock, and then you get the penalty that moved it all the way up. But there was an injury by North Texas, and that's
right. And I think Daly was thinking the clock had stopped because of that injury, but it didn't, and we lost 10 or 12 seconds.
We lost more. It was 21 seconds left. So he took. I don't know what he was doing. We also again the announcers were saying the same thing. I'm yelling at the TV, and nobody seemed to know that the clock. As far as I could tell, nobody seemed to know that the clock was running. I mean, was that planned that way? I don't think so. I mean, what's the gain? You could put the ball at the first down play or second. I'm not sure which one, but yeah, you could try a pass in the end zone. You could try something, but instead he ended up, just. What did he do? He ended up just going up the middle, right? He a little bit and got it into a little bit into the middle of the field, as I recall.
I don't know that you had a 120 left. I think North Texas gave you the ball on. They went on fourth down, they didn't get it, or you got good field position, and your clock management was just bottom line wasn't great.
It was a weird game. It
just wasn't great. Your play calling was but I mean it is what it is. And the one thing that I kind of had a smile about was they tried to throw the tight end on that pass interference play. They tried to throw the David Cross in the end zone, and he forced the pass interference call. So David Crossan says some of his favorite plays are blocking. That was a good play by David Crossan to force pass interference penalty, reaching back at the ball. Defender never turned around. They just couldn't cash it into points. So they just couldn't cash it into points. And those somebody on Twitter was saying, hey, those 30 to 35-yard field goals, you might have to make one of those during a game in these next couple, and it might mean something. So why not give Troy Granati, he hasn't missed a kick all year, extra point or field goal? Why not give him another shot? But it is what it is. Did we cover most of the stuff here, or is there anything else you guys want to bring up? Anything else you'd like to? I mean, the turnovers were something that hadn't happened in a while since week 2, and you get a interception by Bryson Daily, you get a fumble by Kanye Udo. Kanye was trying to get more yards, and Bryson was kind of could have ran with that ball probably. He could have ran with that ball. There was certainly some room there, but didn't hurt him in the end. But it's just something that you can't do next time out against Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to cash in those things like they did against Navy. You give up a fumble there, you give up an interception here. That's turning into points for the Irish. That's no matter how good Army's defense plays against Notre Dame. Notre Dame did that against Navy and wiped them out. So yeah.
If we're done talking about the game, are we done talking about the game?
You got anything else?
There is one more thing. There is one more thing I just wanted to say from my perspective. It seems like we had a very clear game plan going in, just like we did against Air Force, which is, I think, obviously exactly. And I think we, by and large, executed it, to the best of our ability. But I will say, watching today's game, it really gave me a sense of Bryson Daily being a 2016, 2017 era Ahmad Bradshaw, which is the sort of, we're just going to give it to him. He had 36 rushes today. All the credit in the world to Bryson. I think he absolutely should be in discussions for the Heisman. I mean, I think Genty's going to get it, deservedly so. But, we have a much more dynamic offense now, and there's a much broader toolkit that he has to work with between Udo and Short and T-Rob and Reynolds and, on and on and on. And so I think maybe today might have been a situation where we knew that basically riding Bryson all day is going to get us to the W, and we did. Back in 2016, 2017, it sort of felt a little bit like that was every game. And I don't feel like that's the case this year, which is really good. But by the same token, I don't want it to all of a sudden be, okay, Bryson's back. Bryson carried us, by and large, carried us over North Texas. That's great. Here comes Notre Dame. What's the game plan? Daily up the middle, Reed for 35 carries. I want to see us get back to the midline. We had some success with Short in it earlier in the game. I don't want us to become too one-dimensional just because Bryson is such a dynamic player. That's all.
No,
Notre Dame is not going to allow. They're not going to allow that to happen. They're watching the films tomorrow morning, and or I don't know if they play. They must play this week. I don't know if they play or not this coming week. I know they're playing right now against Florida State, but they're not going to let Daly do what what he did against North Texas or anybody else this year. They're bigger, they're faster. I went to the Navy Notre Dame game. I saw a lot of talent on the Notre Dame side and some talent on the Navy side too, by the way. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Army, we have a week off too, so he has a bye week. So
let's get to Charles Starr. I believe this is the first game that Daly has played in that we haven't scored a pass touchdown. 17 pass touchdowns in Army's first 7 games has to be some kind of a record. Last week, yeah, you might be right. Thanks for the comment, Charles Starr. Appreciate it. I just wanted to say something about Noah Short real quick. TV commentary said that Noah Short was hurt during practice earlier this week and almost like doubtful for the game when he first got injured. But the training staff, Monken gave the training staff a lot of credit for getting Bryson Daily ready and also Noah Short ready. And man, Noah Short's just a gamer. That's all I have to say. He'll pick up the extra yard. He'll make a move that he has to make to get to move the chains, and he had some pretty key runs in that in the game today. I mean, he was getting, like you said, Cuthbert, he was taking the pitch plays like 6 to 8 yards. He got on a couple of those, which helped, keep Army on schedule on some of the drives too. So he came up with some pretty big today on a couple of plays. Kanye Udo, I don't know what his stats were for today, but they kind of, like you said, Cuthbert, they went more Bryson today. And I thought that sometimes they left Kanye to bail him out on a couple plays. And I wish they would have established a fullback a little bit more early. I don't know. I mean, they did give him the rock, but it wasn't like they wanted definitely to get Bryson back, in the swing. And I don't know. I mean, Kanye is such a great player. And I think that, sometimes, I think it was 2nd and long. They're giving them the ball, and he's gonna get 4 or 5. I don't know. I just wish they established him better earlier on. That's me. You can't. I'm not no offensive coordinator here, but that's what I thought. We talk about some rankings now, maybe, and maybe Seth. What did you want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to talk just about Army in the AAC championship game right now.
Oh, there you go. Go ahead.
The ball's in Army's court. If they win at UTSA, they most probably will host. The only way they won't host is if Tulane runs out and somehow they finish above Army in the rankings, which I don't see happening. They have 1 loss already. And even if Army loses Notre Dame, I think they'll be ahead of Tulane. So Army has a good chance of hosting the game on Friday, December 6th, I think.
7th.
Okay, Friday's the 7th. Okay, so it's
Friday's the 6th. Friday's the 6th, my bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a night game, and Army has the option to host it, and they can host it anywhere they want, but I'm sure they want to host it at Mikey. The only way for Army not to make the playoffs, if they lose to UTSA, almost have to lose to Notre Dame as well. And then Navy beats Tulane, and they both run out their schedule. Then Army has a slight chance of not making. They're pretty much assured of getting into the game. Whether it's home or not, it really depends on whether they beat UTSA and who wins the game. Again, if Navy beats Tulane, it'll change everything around. But Tulane could end up hosting the game, and of course they have a much bigger. Actually, I don't know if they have a bigger stadium. They have a newer stadium than Mikey. So that's where we stand with the AAC championship on December 6th, and Army looks in pretty good shape for that game. And of course, in 2 weeks we have Notre Dame, which Army hasn't beaten since 1958, when the Army beat them 14-2. And when Army was ranked 3rd in the country, they finished 8-0-1. They tied Pittsburgh. So this is probably, and I've been to a number of Army Notre Dame games. This is probably the best. This is the best Army team to face Notre Dame. The second best was the one that lost 28-27 at the Meadowlands in 95. Who knows? Who knows what can
History
happen?
lesson time by Seth. History lesson
Hey,
time.
you know I like to do that. You know I like to do that.
Jeez. Real quick, why we're talking about the AAC, but if we talk about the college football playoff, Boise State's playing right now against Nevada. That's 21-14 Boise State. Nevada's like 3-7. So Boise State's at home and struggling with Nevada. Who knows what that means? But Boise State's 12 in the college football playoff rankings, and Army, they got snubbed 25th in the first poll. Brendan, I don't know what your thoughts were on that. I mean, that seemed like, when you have a 2-loss Missouri team, a 3-loss Louisville team ahead of them. It's so biased for the Power 4 conference.
I'm concerned about Washington State is not. They don't get an automatic bid. That conference. There is no Pac-12 anymore. There's 2 teams this year. They might get shoved into the other group of 5 pick. I mean, I don't know what the deal is, but they're ranked 21. They're playing a pretty bad Utah State team right now. It's 0-0. I think it just started. And we have to worry about them also. So it's not only Boise, it's Washington State is another team we have to worry about.
Brendan, you were saying before Seth interrupted.
Sorry, Brendan.
Well, I got my eye on the Boise Nevada game, and Nevada just got totally screwed on a replay. They thought they had intercepted the ball like at the goal line, and apparently they didn't. I don't know. God only knows what a catch is anymore. But anyway, I don't know. I mean, I know. I know for the playoff rankings, they kind of have a different philosophy or whatever than the other major polls do. So you tend to see some slight differences. I mean, I was happy with the fact that Army made it at all. And, I mean, maybe they were like, I don't know, maybe they were a little bit reluctant to have Army any higher just because they hadn't really played anybody up until this week. But hopefully that'll change. I mean, hopefully they're at least in the top 20 after pretty handily beating North Texas, even if the score wasn't what we kind of thought it would be.
25th just sound like kind of a charity to me, Army's undefeated, so okay, we'll throw them in at 25, just because they're Army and just because they're undefeated. Not looking at, I don't know if anybody who does those rankings, I don't know who's on the committees and stuff like that. I used to know that stuff, but have they even seen one play of Army this year? Probably not. I doubt it. It's just like, whatever. Any thoughts, Cuthbert, on the college football playoff rankings and where Army might be coming in the next one on Tuesday?
I mean, I wasn't super put out by the fact that we were 25th. What concerns me is that let's say that we win out. We beat Notre Dame, we beat UTSA, we beat Tulane, but I think there's a lot of P4 teams that have a lot of brand and name recognition. And what's going to happen? I mean, we saw it today. Ole Miss beat Georgia. Okay, great. They're both still going to be ranked ahead of Army, in this week's poll. And I think that if we see that enough, Miami lost to an unranked Georgia Tech today. I mean, are they going to fall behind Army in this week's poll? Certainly not. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if we beat Notre Dame in 2 weeks, I would expect us, or I mean, I don't think it'll actually happen, but I would expect us to be ranked ahead of any team that has 2 losses. And I just don't think that's going to happen. And I think the committee is basically setting up to say, even if Army goes undefeated and wins the AAC, so long as Boise State doesn't lose, It'll be, okay, great, Army, your last ranking is 13th, so you're not going to get an at-large, and look, we'll get a New Year's Six and it'll be great. But I have no faith in the college football playoff to have the best interests of the game at heart. When we can watch Alabama play LSU for the 5th time in 3 years, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I agree with you. I agree. If Boise State doesn't lose, and even if we run out, I don't think Army's going to make it.
And Boise State would deserve, they would deserve it. I'm not saying they wouldn't, but if an undefeated Army who wins the AAC and has a win over Notre Dame, even though they lost to NIU, if we're not getting an at-large bid, what are we even doing here? What are we doing? Oh, yeah, well, Alabama, they're really good this year. Yeah, and they lost to an unranked Vandy. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? You know what I mean? You can only play the teams that are on your schedule.
Yeah, exactly.
If Notre Dame loses to Army, they won't get in. But there'll be somebody else who'll take this spot. Again, Wash State rather, and is a possibility. But if we beat Notre Dame, they'll be out.
John telling us that Navy AD Chet Gladchuck is on the committee. So I don't know if that's good or bad or ugly with that. All I can say is that if it's Boise State and UNLV in the Mountain West Championship game, Hajj Malik Williams, former Army prep quarterback. Let's go. You got your second chance against the Boise State Broncos. Hopefully he can pull through there. Let's see. We got a question here. Gents, by Osborne Cox, what do you think the spread looks like versus Notre Dame, and who would you take? Brendan?
They might actually give Army a little bit of respect. I don't know. I mean, I like my general feeling on the game. I feel like it's kind of going to be like 28-14 Notre Dame. So if it's a couple touchdowns, I think that's like fine.
Yeah. I was going to say 10 points Notre Dame, but maybe just throwing it out there. Cuthbert, any thoughts?
Navy was a 16-point dog, and I think they'll put us somewhere around 13, 14, like you said, 2 touchdowns.
There you go, Seth.
Well, I'm not a bettor myself, so I'm no good at coming up with spreads. But if the last 2 weeks are any indication, I would say take the under at the very least.
That's some good advice.
There, that is some good advice, and who knows? Once we get to Army Navy, who knows what we'll see with that over under? That's going to be interesting to find out. Guys, we appreciate all your questions, comments. If anybody has any others, please send them in. We're going to wrap this up in a few minutes. Anything else about Army football you guys want to talk about? I mean, we're only on here once a week, and if there's some things that maybe we haven't touched on during the season or anything like that, I guess here's the time to do it.
I'm happy they have a bye coming up because they can plan for Notre Dame in the last 3 games appropriately. One thing we haven't talked about is the Navy game is after the committee selects their 12 teams. So it's going to be interesting. Army could win the AAC, run out and get it and get the spot, and then they have a regular season game after if they get in. Or they don't get in, they have a regular season game against Navy. So it might happen.
I do think that's something that's going to change probably in the certainly once they're negotiating the next Army Navy contract. I have a big feeling that they're going to have to do some soul searching and get the game to where it's, unfortunately going to lose a lot of limelight, but just for the practicality of it, I think it serves the teams better to not have it as such a standout, for postseason selections and all that.
Maybe put it on Thanksgiving weekend. Who knows? I don't know.
That's kind of what I think, but I don't know.
Put it on what weekend?
Thanksgiving weekend.
Thanksgiving weekend. That's what they used to do back in the day.
There's historical precedent.
There you go. It's enough. That should be enough. But the newer Army fans, who knows if they'll go for that? We'll see. We'll see what happens, but something to watch. And Army. The season, Notre Dame, UTSA, and you're 9-0 for the first time since '96, and so '96 team, their 10th game they lost to Syracuse, right? Man, if Army was able to beat Notre Dame and go to 10-0, that's certainly a huge step to the season, and it's not impossible. It's not impossible, but we'll see what happens with that. And then and we've already, like Seth, you said, pretty much there is going to be a 14th game more than likely in that AAC championship game. So I mean, it's a pretty good year to have, the 2 extra games. And with all due respect, Cuthbert, I hope that they if they don't finish as a top at large, Power 5 team, and they were able to get that New Year's 6 bowl, please, that would be great, because we talked about this last week. No Independence Bowl, please.
Right.
Anywhere but the Independence Bowl. New Year's 6 bowl would be great. Sorry, Independence Bowl, if you're watching right now, I doubt you are. But just
we got to go to the Military Bowl for the 5th time in the past 10 years.
The Independence Bowl president was at the game last week.
Ken Kreitzer had an exclusive. Ken Kreitzer had an exclusive with.
I know he was.
I saw on YouTube. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I probably should have gave it a little bit of time, but he's a
very nice woman. She wants Army there. She really does. And
wait, Seth, you talked to her?
I talked to her before he did.
You talked to her in the press box. I didn't even know she was there that day. I had no idea she was. I know
she was giving out an information sheet about the Independence Bowl and her business card. I have a business card someplace here, and she was saying we really want Army. I mean, this is our number one choice to host the Independence Bowl. And then I said, well, who are they going to go against? And she says one of the Pac-12 teams, which there are 2 of them. So Oregon State and Washington State.
Well, you got a scoop. You got a scoop there, Seth.
Sure. I didn't really hear what Ken said, but I'm sure she told him the same thing. So I don't know. I mean, I hope for a bigger bowl too, but I don't know. I don't know what happens there.
The sale was as a primetime game, like an 8:15 start primetime game. I think on the Saturday or something. The 28th is I don't know, whatever.
It's
no, Seth, we're not sending you out to Shreveport to cover the Independence Bowl. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
If it's is there a Cheez-It Bowl still? Probably not. I'd rather send you to the Cheez-It Bowl if there's
still. I guess I know there's the Pop-Tart Bowl, I think.
We'll send you there, Seth. Pop-Tart Bowl is all good. All good.
Isn't it a bowl game? Isn't a bowl game named after like an actor? Didn't an actor put his name on a bowl game out west somewhere?
Jimmy Kimmel, I think, sponsored a bowl. Yeah.
Well, let's not consider him an actor, Seth. He's a late night talk show host.
A celebrity.
You're close.
One more thing I got to add. A friend of mine who is into politics said that he thinks that Trump will be at the Army Navy game this year because of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, real quick on that. I think that you'll see that policy change over when Trump's get into office too, and they'll give some Army Service Academy players go back to the old, give them a chance right out of the academy, and then they have to go in the service. So I saw something earlier this week or maybe last week that Diego Fago, the Navy linebacker, is back in service. He's going back into service now. He tried the NFL for a few years and it didn't work out.
Retired from football. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he played in an NFL snap. He might have played some preseason, I think, for the Ravens or something like that.
Yeah, but, I think he did some preseason for the Ravens and the Patriots, but I don't think he ever saw any real game time. I may be wrong on that. Maybe he was in for a special teams play at some point, but
yeah,
I don't think he got any. I don't think he got any real snaps.
In all fairness, it's not. The Army players out in the NFL right now are not starting games and not playing. They're special teams players for the most part right now. So, but hopefully,
but they're winning Super Bowl rings.
That's true. Cole Christensen, shout out to Cole. And what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I talked about the whole I mean, Lucas Scott looks pretty good every game, and I think that Lucas Scott, I talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago. He might get a shot, Lucas Scott, if the policies changes back over or whatever the policy is right now.
The congressman who put the bill into play to stop it retired. He retires in January. So he was the guy who said, he was against the guy from Wisconsin. I don't remember his name.
Yeah.
But some congressman.
Yeah.
He retired. The opposition is not there. And I think with Trump as president, and he was all in favor of it back in 2017 or 18 when they put it into effect. It may come back.
He's retired. That congressman retired?
Yeah, he retired.
Okay.
I mean, he's still there now, but he didn't run for re-election.
He didn't seem like he was whatever. Okay. Guys, we really appreciate you watching. Just real quick, want to super apologize about our website being down for a while now. We hope to have it back up on Monday or early this week coming up, and we'll start loading it up with content again. We got into a little bit of an issue, but we hope to get that cleared up. We're posting our stories on our X Black Knight Nation and our X Facebook, Black Knight Nation Facebook page. So we apologize for that. Again, we're 2 subscribers away from 1,000 on YouTube. That's a goal. For some reason, I've always wanted to reach for Black Knight Nation, so hopefully we can get there soon. And we really appreciate Cuthbert coming on for the first time, SSN Army. Thanks a lot, Cuthbert, and Brendan joining us, and Seth as always. And we'll be back. It's a bye week, so maybe we'll have some Army football talk next weekend at some point, and maybe I'll try to I'd like to get on a grad for Veterans Day. I probably should have worked on that a little bit harder. I'll see what we can do for that. Maybe we'll have a Monday Veterans Day podcast with a former player. I'll do my best to get that on. We might have a going away comment. Steve Miller. Okay. Yeah, Steve Miller. This is our website. We'll be back up soon. Okay, guys. Thanks a lot, everybody. And we'll see you soon on the Black Knight Nation podcast.
Good night, guys.
Beat Notre Dame.
Beat them.